In the headlines, the Air and Seaport Authority strengthens its disaster emergency response plan. The court says no bail for 6 individuals charged with armed robbery, and one climatologist claims Caribbean countries are beginning to join the ranks contributors to climate change. I am Kenny Williams with the Channel 5 News. Details after this. Thank you for staying with us. We begin at the courts, where 6 individuals who have been arrested and charged with the Jewelry International robbery have been denied bail.
Cynthia Dossett, Elrado Ducre, and Craig Christian are charged with conspiracy to rob along with other persons unknown, while St. Martin National's Michael McGlaw and Jason Dubic along with Akin Anton Francis are charged with robbery and conspiracy to rob along with persons unknown. The prosecution, led by Inspector Michael Loda, told the court if granted bail, the accused will flee the country given the severity of the offense and the penalty if convicted. Loda also told the court that they are yet to recover the 45 Rolex watches valued at 1.8 million easy dollars, and if bail was granted, they will interfere with the prosecution witnesses and pervert the course of justice. Lead investigator Inspector Robertson Laurent testifies in the bail proceedings that the 45 watches are still in Dominica and will be recovered. He also stated that this crime has an international connection, and if bail is granted to those charged, they will hinder the recovery of the watches and would significantly interfere with the investigations. He also stated more than one gun was used in the robbery, and only one has so far been recovered. But lawyers for the accused, Peter Aline, Darius Jones, Glenn Ducre, and Gina Daya Monroe, who is holding papers for Joshua Francis, told the court the prosecution had not provided a shred of evidence to support its claim, and that the accused had constitutional rights to bail since they were innocent until proven guilty. The prosecution, they claimed, had not substantiated its application for denial of bail and that it should be rejected. Jones told the court the prosecution must come with proper evidence to move the court. But Magistrate Bernard Paquette said the evidence of Inspector Robertson Laurent was very telling given the fact that he spoke about the international connection. He said he believed the evidence of Inspector Laurent was telling. It's interesting that the defense did not cross-examine him at all and wondered why. He ruled that bail was denied and will be reviewed in 30 days. All the lawyers concerned gave notice to the court that they will again be applying for bail before the 30-day period. Meantime, Akin Anton Francis will have his bail application heard on June 10, 2016. His lawyer, Tiani Bihanzin, has filed a matter claiming that the state has abused the process and is seeking to have the matter heard before the bail application.
In other top stories, an emergency response plan for the country's air and seaports have been revised to deal with present challenges during weather disasters.
Airport authorities have met to discuss preparation for this hurricane season.
There's going to be constant meetings of the various heads and departments to ensure that we can respond in the manner we ought to. So there are plans that can be executed, and once we hear of a watch, for example, there are things that we do, and once there is a warning, you know, there are a number of things that we can address depending on the situation.
Based on the experience during Tropical Storm Erica last year and a flooding incident at the Douglas Charles Airport in March, where staff had to flee the area, Badwell says the emergency plan is constantly being looked at.
There are things that are within our control, and there's things that are not within our control. So these are the factors that you have to take into consideration. I am happy to report that there are a number of things happening that will reduce whatever happened to us earlier this year in March. For one, you see the 4-foot wall is being put up, and so that would lessen the risk, because I would have been biting my fingers today if that wall was not up and the dredging had not taken place, because if all that rained, I probably would not have been able to sleep well. But I can see with every level of assurance that work that has been done brings about the confidence that, you know, we were catering for a worst case scenario.
The ongoing airport rehabilitation project being undertaken by a French company is expected to be completed by the end of June.
In more top stories, 3 U.S. nationals from the University of Dayton, Ohio are on island to lend their expertise to the Dominica Manufacturers Association, DMA.
President of the DMA, Severin Mackenzie, made the disclosure during a press conference with media personnel last week.
One is a civil engineering student who we have in fact assigned to the Adventist housing project at Pat Mapier. The one mechanical engineering student is presently attached with Jolly's Pharmacy, their manufacturing section, to help them with their operations, and another mechanical engineering student is located in Wesley, working with Caribbean Agro-Processing, the herbal teas, and they're also going to work with Kip Tranto, the lady who makes the coconut oil cosmetics.
Mackenzie says there are still many challenges facing locally manufactured items. However, the association will continue its advocacy for items manufactured in Dominica.
We are working with the Dominica Coalition of Service Industries, where we are organizing for September to be a Buy Local month or Buy Dominica month. And we still have the Buy Dominica shop operating. So we are doing some things on our own, and we see a bright future for the manufacturing sector. What we have been trying to do with the manufacturers themselves is to up their quality in terms of the packaging, the presentation and those type of things, so that they can make the local products more attractive.
The Buy Dominica shop opened in December last year.
Deputy Chief of the Fire Service has warned the public that they should not take decisions that will put them in danger during tropical disasters, as he says his men are not superheroes.
The fire service's manpower will get a boost as the hurricane season is underway. 6 females and 21 males will officially join the fire service on June 30 after 4 months of training. This will bring the number of fire officers to 140. Deputy Fire Chief Farley Rivera says the fire service is fully prepared to initiate rescue missions associated with situations arising from the hurricane season. Even so, he says the public should understand that fire and rescue officers also have to ensure their own safety.
Often enough, you hear during a disaster that people are out there to be rescued, and what is the fire service doing? There are policies and procedures in everything. During the disaster, it is unsafe for anybody to go out there and do anything for that matter. We are not heroes, but we are there to serve the public. And if we become victims, then the citizens will not be able to get our assistance.
Fire officers were among rescue missions which assisted in the evacuation of people of Petit Savan following Tropical Storm Erica. Rivera says his staff will only venture out during weather disasters unless it is extremely necessary.
We're just asking people to stay in or wait the all clear sign before anybody can go out there. Because this is the reason why we have deaths sometimes, because of people venturing out at inappropriate times. They want to see, they're excited over the whole thing, and they put themselves in danger. If there is a situation where we must go and do a rescue, we will. But we should be as safe as possible as ourselves, We should always be safe. And we just can't go out there and put ourselves in danger because somebody went out there against the procedures.
With the opening of the new hurricane season, Dominica says it is prepared for potential damage to its pipeline in the Roseau Valley area should a weather system affect the country.
During Tropical Storm Erica last year, several meters of pipeline which transfers water from the Clarks River intake to Loda were significantly damaged, and the production of electricity was then more dependent on diesel generation. However, the hydro station supervisor for the company says Dominica has material available to restore damaged pipelines in quick time. Last year, it took just under 2 months to repair 100 meters of damaged pipeline.
The material is imported from Canada from a company called Canba Incorporated, and I think they're just about the only one who produce that product. You actually have the wood itself is the Douglas fir, and as you can see that it is pressure treated with a preservative. And because of the nature of where it is in a high rainfall area that from time to time we have to apply some form of preservative.
McLean says the material for Dominic's pipeline is easy to restore, and this is a major advantage for the company.
It's an advantage of the Woodstave pipeline in that it's easier to repair. Even when it's damaged, some parts of the pipeline and components can be salvaged. So this is what we do in addition to some material which we had in store.
The hydro station supervisor says due to the topography of the Roseau Valley, the company's pipeline is particularly under threat during the hurricane season.
Part of the problem is as you go along, you'll notice that there are streams coming down from the mountainside, and the type of soil here is very unstable, and this lends itself to land slippages when we have this type of shower activities.
Coming up, the Bathurst State Development Committee's concerns this hurricane season. Welcome back. A climate scientist is calling on Caribbean countries to be cognizant of the contribution they make to climate change.
This as the debate over climate change becomes more widespread. In an interview with Channel 5 News, the climate scientist noted that while historically developed countries could be at fault for their contribution of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, Caribbean countries are now also contributors to climate change.
I hear a lot that the Caribbean is not responsible for the ongoing climate change. We need to be careful with such a statement, because historically that may be completely true, because historically the emissions of the Caribbean have been very low. But let me remind you that per person, per inhabitant, per capita, some of our Caribbean nations are actually the world's biggest emitters. So we need to take that into account, and we need to make sure that we have the energy systems in place that would allow us to develop our economies in a clean and sustained way. So it's not like we can defer all responsibilities to the big countries. They bear their historical responsibility, but we can still take action to make sure we don't contribute overly to the problem that is ongoing.
Though Caribbean and developing countries are more vulnerable to the effects of climate change, Van Meerbeek is of the view that government investments can help soften the blow on a country.
I do believe that investing in the delivery and also investing through human resources in the uptake of climate information, for instance by having climate focal points in all the relevant departments of the governments across the region, could really help.
The climatologist says while the signing of the Paris Agreement earlier this year was a move in the right direction, more has to be done to ensure that the goals of the agreement are realized.
The agreement that came out of COP21 is an important agreement. It's not enough to be able to make sure that in the Caribbean we will not face the worst effects of climate change. But it is a landmark agreement because it involves also both the biggest polluters in terms of CO2 emissions. And it also involves the developing regions of the world, especially regions such as China. And the point is that from a diplomatic standpoint, this is a really important agreement. What still needs to be agreed are definite actions within the agreement of how to make sure that the goals of the agreement would be taken care of.
The risk of flash floods to residents of dead-end Bathurst State could be less likely this hurricane season.
Dredging has been taking place at the river along the damaged Bathurst State Emsall Bridge. This is footage taken last week. Upon revisiting the area on Monday, of course, work has advanced. The rocks from the river have also been stacked on top of each other, creating a barrier to keep the river from overflowing its banks. Whenever there is prolonged heavy rains, the river rises high and neighboring homes are affected, as in the case of Tropical Storm Erica, where residents had to be evacuated. The bridge was compromised after the passage of Hurricane Dean in 2007. However, it was still motorable. It was destroyed by Tropical Storm Erica of August last year. Over 300 residents had to be evacuated as the Bathurst State River overflowed its banks, making its way into homes and killing 2 brothers there.
Meantime, President of the Bath Estate Disaster Committee, Aaron Paquette, supports the idea of constructing retaining walls along Dead End and Paradise Valley ahead of the hurricane season.
Paradise Valley is among 9 communities declared special disaster areas by government since Storm Erika.
My suggestion to the government is let us look for a way to have what you call a proper two-way bridge linking Bath Estate and Emsall in case something happens under the bypass in Emsall, and a massive retaining wall from Dead End down to Paradise Valley to the football field. My heart goes out for the people of Emsall because knowing that they have to cross over under that massive cliff. If a storm, a hurricane, a disaster, it can be very difficult for them. And of course, if you may know, there were 2 areas where they used to pass. The bridge that is now gone in Bath Estate, linking to Bath Estate, and they only have one option.
Paquette says once a flood warning is in effect, residents are informed so they can make arrangements to evacuate their homes if needs be.
So we're always on the alert whenever it's flooding, any flood warning is given, so we have the people on a preparedness level to be able to come to the shelter. I would want to suggest to the people of Emsall, they need to evacuate because we only have one route, and possibilities are landslides occurs, soil erosions. So I would want to suggest that to them. When a warning is given, then they move out of their homes if it is vulnerable.
Since Hurricane Dean devastated the Bath Estate Emsall Bridge, government had announced plans for a new bridge, and in September 2011, then Public Works Minister Rayburn Blackmore said that designs for a new bridge were finalized. Blackmore told the media that the new bridge would allow for two-way traffic and include a sidewalk.
That's news. Coming up next in sports, a leading batsman accuses Australia's Big Bash League of double standards. That and more in your sports highlights next. Bouncing off in basketball, Trafalgar and Lindo Park will be the hub for basketball action when the 2016 Flow DABA League continues on Wednesday. Bouncing off in basketball, Trafalgar and Lindo Park will be the hub for basketball action when the 2016 Flow DABA League continues on Wednesday, weather permitting. At Trafalgar, Detroit Blazers and United Insurance Sharks will get things going in a Division 1 encounter at 7, while Fast Cash Prowlers will do battle with Signman X-Men at 9. Then over at Lindo Park, it will be Carry FM Old School going head-to-head against LA Knights from 7, to be followed by Elijah Law Chambers Thunderers versus Eagles at 9. Meantime, in recent games, E.H. Charles Crossovers defeated Marigot 49-38 in a Premier Division matchup, while in the female category, Marigot Women defeated Lady Challengers 42-25. Still in sports, inclement weather forced the abandonment of sports division games on Monday. However, the games will continue should the weather hold up. The primary schools cricket competition has been rescheduled to Wednesday for zones C, D, H, and I. And the primary schools netball championships have been pushed back to the 14th of June should weather permit. Both competitions are sponsored by the Swiss Embassy. On the cricket scene, Cornells defeated Woodford Hill by 129 runs in Sunday's version of the Big Edge Gifford Toussaint softball cricket competition. Cornells batted first and scored 181 for 6. Timothy Joseph had a game high of 113 not out. M. Woodman 19 and C. Moraine 15. K. Abraham took 3 for 24. Set 182 for victory. Woodford Hill was bowled out for 52. K. Abraham scored 27. D. Desbon unleashed a vicious bowling attack on the Woodford Hill team, taking 7 for 8. G. Anselm picked up 2 for 27 and Matthew 1 for 17. Still in cricket, one of the world's most destructive batsmen, Chris Gayle, enjoyed one of the most successful careers in the sport. However, he has often been the center of controversy. The most popular one was when Gayle was criticized for making inappropriate comments towards an Australian female reporter during a live interview in Australia's Big Bash League. 6 months after the event, Gayle said he feels he has been treated with double standards by the Big Bash and believes he was used as a scapegoat by the league he helped to build.
I didn't felt like I was being treated right, at the particular time, the way they're actually going about it, and the media make a big mockery out of it. And, it's to be honest, to go into details, was just straight up a lot of double standard. And, for someone, being a part of the Big Bash for so many years, who actually build the Big Bash, from day one, the same name they used to build the Big Bash, the same name they want to tarnish. Chris Gayle was the actual name, started the Big Bash. I hope everyone knows that.
That's all at sports for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again next time. To end the news, the headlines again. The Air and Seaport Authority strengthens its disaster emergency response plan. The court says no bail for 6 individuals charged with armed robbery, and one climatologist claims Caribbean countries are beginning to join the ranks contributors to climate change. Feel free to contact us at news@MarpinNewsJune7th2k16. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Kenny Williams. To our viewers around the world, thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.